In 1990, an Italian geologist named Angelo Pittoni would find an unusual stone while visiting Sierra Leone, a mysterious artifact that has baffled all who have studied it. A local Fuller chief was said to have given it to Pittoni, a blue stone with mysterious white lines upon its surface. After returning to Europe, Pittoni took the stone to the Institute of Natural Sciences of Geneva and then University La Sapienza in Rome for further analysis. To his surprise, tests revealed that it was not a turquoise, or indeed anything that could officially be identified. Furthermore, the blue stone didn't correspond to any known mineral. But the most intriguing thing is its color. Researchers still do not understand how the stone has acquired or retained its color. This even though several universities and laboratories have analyzed the artifact at great length. It seems its color remains a mystery. Mysteriously, at the University of Utrecht, the stone underwent several tests with use of strong acids, but none of the acids could affect the stone. It was even heated to over 3,000 degrees Celsius, yet its composition wasn't altered. When a small piece of the stone was pulverized and viewed under the microscope, it curiously lost its color. Now known as the SKYSTONE, according to analysis, an amazing 77.17% of the stone is somehow made of pure oxygen. The remaining percentage was divided between carbon, calcium, and another unknown element. When researchers crushed a piece of the skyrock and mixed it with acetone, hexane, and methylene, and then enhanced the extractions with ultrasound, they were eventually able to locate an organic compound that is currently unknown to science. Dated at 55,000 years old, just what is the SKYSTONE?
As the ground was opened up in a search for precious stones, diamonds were not all that was found. Deep beneath the earth, mysterious objects were found, objects long buried which would challenge our understanding of African history and the history of humanity itself. The Nomoli statues from Sierra Leone. Early in 1991, representatives from a foreign mining company were hunting for diamonds in Sierra Leone when they came across a most unusual and unexpected find. Digging deep beneath the earth, they began to uncover a number of mysterious stone statues carved from soapstone, clay, and granite, which appeared to depict humanoid figures. On the surface, this was not the most groundbreaking of discoveries. Similar stone figures had been noted as early as the 1400s by Portuguese explorers as they sailed down the western coast of Africa. The locals called them Nomoli, and by the 1850s, an American missionary named George Thompson had provided the first official description of these statues in the West. During his time traveling through Sierra Leone, Thompson wrote in his journal, "This evening, I found a nest of old, broken, graven images. There were 5 of them lying at the foot of a small tree, where a town once stood, which was destroyed by war. They are made of stone, intended as an imitation of something, perhaps of human beings."
They discover mysterious figures ranging from 5 to 10 inches tall, often with reptilian or amphibian features, known as Nomoli.
They're very strange statues. Some are clay, some are of granite or limestone. They are humans and human figures with lizard heads. There are hundreds of them.
According to legend, the Nomoli represent sky gods. When they fell from the heaven, part of the sky turned to stone and rained down with them. Curiously, strange blue stones can be found buried with many of the Nomoli figurines.
These strange blue stones called sky stones have been found with the statues. And at first, archaeologists thought, okay, it's just blue stones. But when they analyzed it, they couldn't figure out how these had been made too. Although the people in Sierra Leone felt that they were actually pieces of the blue sky that fell with the Nomoli.
All of the stuff. Look at the blue cord that runs through the tzitzit that the men in the camp would wear. The men in leadership and the men would wear these fringes on their garments, and it would have a blue cord running through it. Even that, guys, I think, There's a massively supernatural element going on here. This is my own theory. Moses comes down from the mountain. The original stones were carved out of the floor of heaven, which we are told is like sapphire. But if you actually do your research, it was lapis lazuli, because that would have been the ancient. And that ties into the mountain of God in Enoch 18, that is in the center with the other mountains surrounding it. There are many biblical and apocryphal references to the mountain of God, the throne of God being either the stone or the volcanic material of fire coming out of it being as lapis lazuli. So Yahweh, which I tend to believe is the pre-incarnate Messiah, carves two stones out of the floor of heaven. We're talking lapis lazuli. Moses comes down, feeds this into the golden calf, smashes those tablets, does its stuff, goes back up. The second time, the stones aren't cut out from the floor of heaven. He cuts them out of the mountain. Now they're just on regular stone, sandstone or whatever that was, right? Okay, he comes down now with the law, with the covenant, with the Torah. For the very first time, he reads the whole of the Torah to the people, and they say, we agree, we'll do it. One of the things in that covenant that they learned about was, men, you're going to get tassels, and you're going to hang them from the four corners of your prayer shawl, but you're going to string a blue cord through it to remind you of the commandments, to remind you to obey. Well, that's why it's blue, because the original tablets of the law were lapis lazuli. So when they saw that blue cord, it reminded them of the law, because the law was originally on blue stone. But here is where it gets even more interesting, supernatural. This is where Christians start to get nervous, because it sounds new agey, but here's the deal. They're in the middle of the desert. Where do they get enough blue dye to dye a bunch of threads so that every man in the camp, hundreds of thousands, if not over 1 million, where do you get enough blue dye to make 4 cords for each man in the camp? Well, the way the ancients made blue dye was by grinding lapis lazuli down to powder and making a dye out of it. So we now have blue cords in the fringes of Moses and Aaron's garments and in the leaders of the Hebrew camp that was cut from the floor of heaven, which was likely the mountain or the throne of God. We now have a heavenly out-of-place object on earth. We have a fragment of the throne of God ground into powder and woven into the very fabric of their clothing. Now you say, why did these people for 40 years not age? Why did their sandals not wear out? How did Caleb at 85 years old slay Nephilim giants 3 times his size when he has the strength that he had at 40? Why in the New Testament, when women who were sick and couldn't be healed grabbed onto the fringes of Jesus' garment, his tzitzit, why did they get healed miraculously? By just touching a blue cord. How come it says in scripture that there's healing in his wings? He's not a bird. It's the fringes of his garment. There's something deeply magical about this, right?
The Bible teaches that we are to wear on the corners of our garments tassels, strings, and on one of them it should be blue. And it should be blue called tassel in Hebrew. We know that this was practiced for centuries.
The high priest in the temple wore a garment that was all blue, but every Jew would have one strand of blue to remind him that he's connected to this priestly nation. And as a result, we each have one single strand.
In fact, in the New Testament, when it talks of the woman touching the corner of the garment of Jesus, this is undoubtedly what it's referring to.
From those rugged minds, lapis lazuli traveled the ancient Silk Road, linking east to west. It adorned the tombs of Egyptian pharaohs, like Tutankhamun's iconic golden mask, where its blue symbolized the heavens. The Mesopotamians called it the Stone of Kings, believing it held divine power. Even in ancient Persia, lapis was carved into amulets and seals, its golden flecks thought to mimic the stars. Its name, from Latin lapis for stone and Persian laj word for blue, literally means blue stone of the sky.